One of my favorite things Jesus said when he's being crucified, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And that's what he meant.
How much of that do you think is historically accurate? Like, how much of the Jesus story do you think is historically accurate when you hear about it?
No idea. Don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just love the story. I don't care.
I love the story, and I love a story about what happened, because you always have to filter through the very real understanding that we all have about the way human beings tell stories. It's hard to know what's bullshit because people just lie about stuff, and that's not a new thing.
Yeah.
So, but people also tell the truth about stuff. That's not a new thing either. People also write down very important things, and there are people that are virtuous, and there are people that are honest, and there are people that are authentic. They've always existed, right? And there's people that are smart enough to understand the value of just being truthful, right? So those people that encountered something exceptional and crazy, something insane, whether it is the resurrection or whatever it was, I would love to know what the they really said. Like, what were the actual words? Why did you write it down? What really happened? How many people were told this story back and forth over hundreds of years before you wrote it down?
Yeah.
What was the original story like?
Right.
It's so hard. It's like trying to get a story about the things that George Washington said that weren't written down.
Yeah.
That weren't written down,
right.
300 years ago. What? How? I wish I could read like the ancient versions in the language and understand the language and the context.
Me too.
Because it's not just about learning the language. It would be about understanding the context of the language. Like, imagine if you could really understand ancient Hebrew where letters double as numbers.
Dude.
Like, that must be so weird.
Yeah, man. And that's real. That's the other thing about it is the historic Jesus and all that. God, that shit. Okay, I don't know, but look at the thing itself.
Right. Look what it said. Whatever this idea spawned. Look what it means. Like, look at all the powerful principles that emerge from it, and then I'll look at like the moral scaffolding that it provides for people. Yeah,
and then I think the reason people get creeped out by it is because where there's one thing, its opposite must appear, right? So here's this thing, that is dissolving power structures and dissolving the priest class and dissolving all of it. And then you look at the modern day versions of it and you see the same fucking hierarchy. You see this thing that it seems to be antithetical to, which is saying this is between you and me.
Right.
Suddenly there's people telling you you're wrong, interpreting it for you. And you look at that and you're like, that shit, whatever that is, I'm not in.
And it's charismatic people in front of large groups of people that really know how to manipulate people with the way they talk.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that was so problematic when they first started translating the Bible into phonetic languages, into languages like German. And when people started, during the Martin Luther days, they're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? It used to be the priests had to read the Bible because they could read it in Latin. You don't know Latin, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This is what God wants you to do it.
Yeah.
And then Martin Luther's coming along and said, you should interpret this your own way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? So they take away the gatekeepers to God.
That's it.
But when you have, it's so crazy that it's such an efficient business that they still run these fucking franchises, even though the book is available everywhere. It's so crazy that this one person interprets this better than everybody else, so you go and see him and he talks, and then they develop egos and they have jets and they have fucking mansions and Rolls Royces. It's so crazy that works. It's crazy that works when that book is available for everybody and should be interpreted. I mean, you should understand what it means. You shouldn't interpret it ignorantly, right?
Right.
But if you're wise enough to be able to capture what they're trying to say, just capture in your mind what they're trying to say and translate it into a thing that makes sense. You're like, what were they talking about?
Yeah.
What happened? Is this a map of how the universe was created? In the beginning there was light. Is that a map? Or is that life itself? What is that?
What is it?
What is that?
And to me, that's the Bhagavad Gita, any of these beautiful texts. That's what's fun about them, is that it's producing a kind of bizarre riddle in your own mind as you're trying to decode it.
Right.
But then there's a pull. The more you study it, the more you get drawn in. And when you start getting really drawn in, that's when people start appearing around you that help in a non-nefarious way. That like you just start meeting people who help you understand it a little bit more, and that's where it gets fucking weird.
Simulation.
Yes, dude. You're like,
Simulation's real.